As we all know, we're heading towards the ANC Elective Conference on the 16th of December 2022, and there's been a lot of developments since part 1 of this video was released. So when the ANC Elective Conference concludes its business in Nasrec on the 20th of December 2022, one of these three leaders, namely Cyril Ramaphosa, Zweli Mkhize and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, or anyone who could be nominated from the floor, will be the newly elected president of the African National Congress, and that person's face will be on our ballot papers come 2024 general elections. And if the ANC wins those elections, the winner of this conference will become the president of South Africa. But if that winner is not Cyril Ramaphosa, then South Africa might have a new president a lot sooner than 2024, as the newly elected leader of the ANC will most likely recall Ramaphosa from the Union building, because he is going to this conference limping as his credibility is muddied by the Phala saga, and there are strong calls from his detractors for him to resign. But besides that, the ANC just has a tendency to recall their state president deployees after electing a new party leader. This is also common for premiers as well. The organization claims to be doing this to avoid what they call two centers of power. So if Ramaphosa loses, he will definitely be gone by February 2024 and will not deliver the Sona speech. Therefore, a lot is at stake in this conference. This is why I want us to look into these three contenders and see who they are, what they stand for, what they have to offer, what scandals were they involved in, and what impact have they had in their political careers so far. So let's start with the contender who is also the sitting president, Cyril Ramaphosa. He was born on the 17th of November 1952 in Chawelo, Soweto, to a father who was a police officer. He showed interest in politics at a very young age. His father thought the young Cyril would get himself into trouble if he continued staying in Soweto. So he sent him away to go and stay with relatives in Limpopo, then Northern Transvaal. But that didn't stop the young Cyril from becoming politically active. He was elected chairperson of the Student Christian Movement, SCM, at his new school in Limpopo. In 1971, he matriculated from Papuli High School in Sibasa, Limpopo. The following year, in 1972, he registered with the University of the North, TEFLOP, for a BProc degree, where he also joined student politics and became a member of South African Students Organization, SASO, and got elected as the branch chairperson in 1974. He also joined the Black People's Convention, BPC, which was the national coordinating body for the Black Consciousness Movement. He was part of the student leadership that led the Pro-Frelimo rally at the University of the North and was arrested for 11 months on terrorism charges. Soon after his release in 1975, he left Limpopo and went back to Joburg to do his articles in law. In 1976, he got involved in a student uprising in Soweto and got arrested for 6 months on terrorism charges again. On his release, he continued with his articles and completed his degree with UNISA in 1981 and became a lawyer. He got a job at the Council of Unions of South Africa, CUSA, as an advisor in the legal department. CUSA was a federation of unions that preceded COSATU and was affiliated with the UDF. In 1982, CUSA resolved to form National Union of Mine Workers, NUM, and assign this task to a 30-year-old Cyril Ramaphosa. Then in December 1982, NUM had its first conference to elect leadership, and Ramaphosa was elected its first Secretary General. NUM quickly became the biggest union in the country, and with that growth came Cyril Ramaphosa's political influence. In 1985, he was at the forefront of forming COSATU, and he delivered the keynote address at its launch rally in Durban in December of that year. Ramaphosa led NUM's breakaway from CUSA to join the newly formed COSATU. Just like CUSA, COSATU also joined forces with the UDF to form Mass Democratic Movement, MDM, of which Ramaphosa was one of its leaders. The UDF was later labeled a political movement by the apartheid government and was banned in 1987. In 1990, all political movements were unbanned, but the UDF and MDM didn't rebuild their structures, and most of their members and leaders instead joined the newly unbanned ANC. In the very same year, the ANC, COSATU and SACP reached an agreement to band together and speak with one voice in CODESA negotiations and also contest elections as one. That is when the tripartite alliance was formed. It was also at this point that President Cyril Ramaphosa joined the ANC. When Nelson Mandela and other political prisoners were released from prison in 1990, Cyril Ramaphosa was appointed as the chairperson of the reception committee, which organized the welcome rallies for them. In 1991, Cyril Ramaphosa was elected Secretary General of the ANC and became the head of its negotiation commissions and chief negotiator in the Convention for a Democratic South Africa, CODESA. In May 1994, he was elected chairperson of the new Constitutional Assembly to draft South Africa's new constitution, and in December of that very same year, he was re-elected Secretary General of the ANC. In 1996, he resigned from both positions positions as Secretary General of the ANC and Chairperson of the new Constitutional Assembly, and went into private sector but retained his seat on the National Executive Committee of the ANC. He founded the Shanduka Group, a black-owned investment firm that had interest in telecommunications and mining, including the Lonmin mine. In August 2012, a wildcat strike by Lonmin mine workers broke out in Marikana, and police shot and killed 34 mine workers. Ramaphosa sat on that Lonmin board as chairperson and was implicated and blamed for the massacre because of the email he allegedly sent to the then police minister Nathi Mthethwa calling for a concomitant action. In December of the same year, 2012, he was elected deputy president of the ANC and appointed deputy president of the country in 2014 after the ANC had won elections. In 2017, he was elected president of the ANC and subsequently president of the country in February 2018 after Jacob Zuma was recalled. Ramaphosa was then re-elected as president of the country again in 2019 following the ANC's victory in the general elections. He is still serving as both the president of the ANC and of South Africa. In June 2022, just 6 months before the ANC's elective conference, where Ramaphosa is expected to run for a second term, Arthur Fraser revealed to the public that millions of dollars were stolen from Ramaphosa's Phala farm and that the crime went unreported. Instead, those who stole it were kidnapped, tortured, and paid not to tell anyone. Arthur Fraser then took it upon himself to open a case against Cyril Ramaphosa for defeating the ends of justice and violating the constitution by not reporting a crime. ATM Party then tabled a motion of no confidence against President Ramaphosa in Parliament. The Section 89 panel was also established to look into the matter, and the panel's report made findings that President Ramaphosa has a case to answer, and Ramaphosa's detractors are trying to use this to invoke the step-aside rule in the ANC and force him to resign as the president of the country and withdraw from the presidential race of the upcoming conference. Following the announcement of the nominations by the Electoral Committee, he is leading the race after being nominated by 2,037 branches, but that was before the damning panel report on the Phala robbery was released. So whether those numbers remain the same or not is yet to be seen at the conference. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who is also the contender. She was born on the 27th of January 1949 in former Natal. She attended a high school in Adams College in Amanzimtoti and matriculated in 1967. She registered with the University of Zululand and obtained her bachelor's degree in zoology in 1971 and went on to register with the University of Natal to study medicine, where she became an active member of Black Consciousness Movement and was elected deputy president of South African Students Organization SASO in 1976. This position got her into trouble with the police and she went into exile to continue with the medical studies with the University of Bristol in the UK and graduated in 1978. During that period in exile, she was also a chairperson of ANC Youth Section in the UK. After graduating, she continued staying and working in England for 2 years and also served on the British Regional Political Committee of the ANC. She moved back to Africa and lived in Swaziland, where she worked as a doctor at the Mbabane Government Hospital. She became a founder and director of the Health Refugee Trust, a British non-governmental organization, and moved to Lusaka in Zambia in 1989 to work for the ANC Health Department. She returned to South Africa when the ANC was unbanned by National Party government in 1990. During the CODESA negotiations in 1992, she was part of the Gender Advisory Committee. She also served on the Executive Committee and Health Committee of the ANC and as a research scientist at South Africa's Medical Research Council in Durban. After the ANC won the 1994 elections, Dlamini-Zuma became the Minister of Health in Mandela's cabinet. She has been in the cabinet ever since then, serving in different portfolios. She served under every president since 1994 and has been the member of NEC since 1990. During her tenure as Minister of Health in 1996, she enacted new laws to regulate the tobacco industry. For example, it might seem normal now that when a person wants to smoke, they have to go outside. But this was not always the case. She is the one who enacted this law in her capacity as Minister of Health. She led the anti-tobacco campaign and had stand-off with tobacco companies and forced them to write in their packets that smoking caused cancer and banned the advertisement of cigarettes on television, radio, and billboards. In 2013, she became the chairperson of African Union Commission in Addis Ababa until 2017, when she returned back to South Africa to campaign for ANC presidency in the ANC elective conference during December of that same year, and she lost to Cyril Ramaphosa. One of the first corruption allegations leveled against the ANC government after 1994 involved her. In 1995, she was accused of unduly awarding her friend Mbongeni Ngema a 14 million tender to produce Sarafina 2 for a campaign to raise HIV and AIDS awareness without following proper bidding procedures. She misled Parliament and claimed that the project was funded by EU donations, a claim which the EU itself denied. The show was cancelled after the public protector published a report criticizing the project's poor financial controls and procedural irregularities and ordered that the equipment Mbongeni Ngema bought with that money be seized. In 2015, she and Jacob Zuma were accused of using their political influence to get favors and preferential treatment for their 4 daughters over ordinary citizens. Case in point, one of her daughters, Gugulethu Zuma, received 5 million in funding from KZN government government to produce a popular SABC1 show called Uzalo. In 2017, another daughter of hers, Thuthukile Zuma, raised eyebrows when she was promoted in a space of months to become Chief of Staff at Department of Communications at just 25 years of age, overtaking employees who've been there for years and became her subordinates despite being less experienced than them. The Zumas were accused of nepotism. Going to this conference, she was nominated by few branches in KZN and is endorsed by Jacob Zuma, who is also running for chairmanship in her slate. But they both didn't meet the threshold to be on the ballot paper. But we cannot rule them out just yet. They can still be nominated from the floor. And if that nomination is supported by 25% of the delegates, they can still make it to the ballot paper. Another contender is Zweli Mkhize, who was born on the 2nd of February 1956 in Pietermaritzburg, KZN. He completed his degree in medicine at the University of Natal and did his internship at the McCord Hospital in 1983. He later practiced at the Edithvale Hospital in Pietermaritzburg around 1984. Because of his political activities for the ANC against apartheid, he left the country and went to exile in 1986. He first lived in Swaziland and later settled in Zimbabwe. He returned back to South Africa in 1991 after the unbanning of the political movements in the previous year. Upon his return, he briefly practiced at the Temba Hospital in the Transvaal and went back to Pietermaritzburg to open his private practice. During this period, Dr. Zweli Mkhize also served as a member of ANC's National Health Secretariat, which was the ANC's department set up to address the health needs of black people since 1977, and later tasked with the responsibility of developing the country's health policy during the build-up towards 1994 elections. After the 1994 elections, Zweli Mkhize was appointed as KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Health. In 2004, he was appointed as MEC for Finance and Economic Development in KwaZulu-Natal. During this time, he was accused of approving 11 million rands loan to his wife from the Itala Bank, which is owned by the KZN provincial government, and under the political custodian of the MEC of Finance and Economic Development, which was occupied by him at the time. He was in person in 2008 and elected as Premier of KwaZulu-Natal on the 6th of May 2009. At the 3rd ANC National Elective Conference in December 2012, he was elected to the top 6 as National Treasurer General. He also served as the Chancellor of University of KwaZulu-Natal from 2009 until 2017. In December 2017, he challenged Cyril Ramaphosa and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma for the position of president of the ANC, which he later withdrew and saw himself out of the top 6, and Ramaphosa got elected as president of the ANC. When the ANC recalled Jacob Zuma and replaced him with Cyril Ramaphosa as president of the country in 2018, Dr. Zweli Mkhize was appointed to serve as Minister of Cooperative Governance from the 27th of February 2018 to 29th of May 2019, and became Minister of Health from the 30th of May 2019 to the 5th of August 2021. Dr. Zweli Mkhize showed great leadership skills during the fight against COVID-19 in South Africa. He was at the right place at the right time, and people started earmarking him as the potential successor to President Ramaphosa. He even made it to the cover page of the Financial Mail, getting all the praises every politician dreams of. He was a shining star and everyone's favorite minister until Amapungane and the Daily Maverick uncovered and reported on some dodgy contracts worth 150 million, which he allegedly awarded improperly to a company named Digital Vibes to lead the awareness campaign about the COVID-19. This company is reportedly owned by his friends and family members. Some of the money from this contract was channeled to his son, Dlamini-Zuma, and was used to buy a bakkie for his farm. Another portion went to his wife, May Mkhize, which she used to pay back some of the loan she received from Itala Bank, which was under the control of Zweli Mkhize when he was still MEC of Financial and Economic Development in KZN. So he is going to this conference with this Digital Vibe saga hanging over his head, and was endorsed by one province, KZN. He got 916 nominations, second to Ramaphosa, who got 2,037 nominations from the branches.